How complex is for businesses to integrate partners, vendors, and third-party suppliers into their network? In this Design Zone video, we will show how Alkira's Extranet service simplifies your use cases of business-to-business connectivity. Hi, this is Hasham from Alkira's product team, and joining me again is Dipesh. Hey, Dipesh.
Hey Asham, thanks for having me.
So Alkira launched Extranet service a few months back, and you have been engaged with several customers because a lot of customers they're adopting the Extranet as a service pretty quickly. There is also a blog based on your experiences you have published on alkira.com, which gives an overview of Extranet as a service. But I wanted to ask you in person, why Extranet as a service from Alkira? How things have been working in traditional way for typical like on-prem network?
Yeah, that's a great question, Asham. So, in if I look into or talk about on-premise environment, customers when they are looking at, or organizations when they're looking at partner connectivity or business-to-business connectivity, they have to look into a certain number of things when they look at end-to-end connectivity, and there are certain challenges with it. For example, when you have partner connectivity, and you have, obviously, an organization could have multiple partners as well. Usually that connectivity will have terminated on a firewall, so that you could have isolation of traffic flows from different partners, and you also have to take into consideration overlapping IP addresses, because you could have multiple partners using the same IP space. So you will then kind of look into NAT configurations on the firewall. So you have the isolation of that traffic, and then kind of also kind of look into the NAT configuration. The second thing to consider is how do you provide application or shared services connectivity to these partners. Now, typically, you would have another set of firewalls to kind of make sure that these shared services can be connected to the partners, depending on what exactly those services are. And then that would mean that you will have to manage these separate set of firewalls, do the NAT configurations, do the routing. So end to end, when you look at it overall, you have to kind of have a you have a challenge of maintaining these firewalls, and then also looking into kind of how do you provide connectivity end to end for these applications to the partners.
That's traditional on-prem architecture for partner connectivity, right? It already sounds complex, and managing the connectivity to partners, it's not an easy task, right? Considering all the challenges that you have mentioned. But when we talk about customers who are in cloud networking and have a good base in the cloud network, doesn't the challenges increase exponentially for them?
Yeah, so that's right, Sham. So when you look at a cloud native environment and doing or providing similar connectivity in a cloud native environment, then there are more challenges to consider, because depending on the cloud environment you are setting up these instances in, you will have to kind of look at how do you handle the routing, the NAT configuration, the firewall instances. Again, every CSP has a different way of kind of having the routing and network connectivity. For example, it could be like the VPC connectivity, the VNet connectivity, and then kind of looking into how do you kind of do the routing to and from the firewalls? How do you manage these firewalls? So all in all, when you look at it in a cloud native environment, the challenges become even more exponential, kind of when you have to look at providing this connectivity for partners.
All right. So how Alkira Extranet as service changes the B2B connectivity for the businesses? I mean, are we making things easier for customers?
Yeah, so Hajam, when talking about Alkira's extranet as a service capability, so the points I mentioned earlier, for example, segmentation. To provide segmentation, it's super simple to do it in the Alkira environment. So kind of providing isolation for different partners for an organization becomes simpler. You can create route domains very easily on the Alkira CXP. Then talking about security or firewall, third-party firewalls can be instantiated easily within the Alkira CXP, and Alkira automation takes care of the lifecycle management of the firewall, the routing to and from the firewall, load balancing. So in that way, the customer does not have to kind of look into all those aspects. And then another important piece is, that the same set of firewalls can be used for partner connectivity and then application connectivity for these partners. The customer does not necessarily need to create separate set of firewalls for this connectivity. And then another one is the overlapping IP address, which is a possible scenario in this case. So for that one, for the overlapping IP address, extensive NAT policies are available within the Alkira environment to be configured for the customer so that they can manage the overlapping IP space for different partners.
How do businesses and partners they connect to Alkira CXP?
Yeah, so in terms of connectivity options, a commonly used one is just simple IPsec connectivity for these partners directly to the Alkira CXP. There are other options as well, like if private connectivity options need to be used, Direct Connect and Express Route are available. If SD-WAN needs to be used, that's also available to be able to connect directly into the CXP. So there are options for the partners to be able to connect directly into the Alkira CXP where the customer has already connected their existing resources.
Okay, so we have multiple options of how partners can connect to Alkira CXP POPs in different regions. Once they connect, there is segmentation available. Alkira policies dictate and control how the traffic flows through the CXP. There is security firewalls providing traffic inspection, right? But since partners are connected in different segments, what if there are resources that needs to be shared from the enterprise to different partners? How does Alkira address that aspect in Extranet as a service?
In terms of within the Alkira environment, customers can create multiple segments or route domains so that they can provide isolation in terms of for different partners in terms of connectivity. Alkira has a feature called resource sharing. With resource sharing, you could have, let's say, a route domain or a segment which can where resources are being connected into, and you would have another segment where another resource is being connected into, and then you could have sort of like a route leak or a VRF route leak where you could kind of share certain resources from, let's say, segment one and into certain resources which are in segment two. So you could have, let's say, a partner which connects in segment one, and you have the applications which are connected in segment two, and you want to have connectivity between them. That could be done using what Alkira calls as resource share. And it's pretty seamless to integrate with a third-party firewall within the Alkira CXP so that you can send this traffic for inspection. And it can be as granular as it can get in terms of, you could get it to very specific in terms of the prefix itself or a certain resource itself, which you want to share across multiple segments.
Okay. And all this, the connectivity, the Alkira NAT policies, the firewall, the resource sharing, that all can be done through Alkira portal by just few clicks in the UI.
Yes, that's correct, Hisham. So let me kind of show a demo on how this will look like on the Alkira portal. So if you can see my screen now, on the screen, I have two CXPs, which are in two different regions. One is in US West, one is in US East. I'm kind of looking at it in terms of three different segments or route domains where I have shared services, partner, and M&A segment. If I click on the US West CXP, I have on the left is the partner, which is the IPsec connectivity to the CXP. On the right, I have the VPC, which is kind of the shared services where the application is. And then in the middle, I have the firewall services, which has these segments configured. And again, this is taken care of by the automation on the Alkira side. There is no manual configuration in terms of creating the segments or provisioning that. It's all taken care of by the automation within the Alkira environment.
So you have two segments over here, actually three segments. Two segments are for two partners, where one partner that we see on screen right now is connected via IPsec to the CXP that is in US West. And then you have East CXP, where the second partner has the connectivity. You also have a firewall in each of the regions. The connectivity between the regions is via Alkira Cloud Backbone, right? So the partner that is in East region, if it needs to access the resources in the US West that is in enterprise or the third segment, they'll will use the Alkira's backbone from US East region to US West region, access the common resources, correct?
Yes, that's correct, Hisham. So Alkira Cloud Backbone will be used in this case for any connectivity which is in US East region to be able to connect to any resources in the US West region.
So we have two CXPs and two firewalls, and Alkira natively takes care of the traffic redirection and load balancing between the firewalls, right?
Yep.
How does the multiple segments that partners and cloud, right, how they are mapped to the firewall?
Yeah, so in terms of mapping the segments on the firewall, again, this is done all through the UI, Hasham, and then the user only needs to configure the names of the segments and then just make sure to map them on the firewall. And the Alkira automation takes care of the actual configuration and the routing for that segment or route domain. So in this case, I have the shared services segment, which has resources mapped to it. So automatically, as soon as the segment is added, the customer can come here on the firewall tab and then create those segments through the UI and then hit just provision. And this will automatically configure these segments or route domains on the firewall itself. They can then map different groups or resources that they want to these segments so that they can send traffic to the firewalls for inspection. So let me kind of show how do we create the resource share, which I just mentioned earlier. So customers can come in and click on the actions here on the right, and then click on this manage resource share. Here I already have created a couple of them. So if I look at one of the resource share that I created, I see that I have defined it from the shared services segment to the MA segment in this case. And I can also define the resources that I want to share, right? In this case, I am sharing all resources. There is an option to get granular with sharing only specific resources, let's say a cloud connection, which could be a VPC or a VNet, or it could be a connectivity from the on-prem side, IPsec, or any private connectivity as well. And then similarly, I have the MA segment defined here as well, where I want to share these resources to and from. And then if I look at it below, I have a traffic behavior between segment resources. So if I want to send this traffic for firewall inspection, then I can choose this option. Or I could also have the option to use a specific rule list, which is just kind of looking at it from configuring IP prefix in terms of source and destinations or ports, and then redirecting that to the firewall. And if I look at advanced options, you would have the traffic direction. So this is bi-direction. So once this is defined, whether traffic is initiated from end A to end B or vice versa, this will go through the firewall automatically. So in this way, it kind of becomes simpler to kind of define and make it granular for the customer to provide connectivity between two segments or between two route domains. And in this way, once the traffic policy for the resource share is configured, you would have end-to-end connectivity. Now, another thing to look at is, with Alkira, the visibility into this traffic is there. So customers have the option to look at, health checks. They could look at packet captures, the routes, the flow captures. So I'll click on flow capture here and I'll just initiate some traffic. So I have initiated some traffic. Let me kind of go on the portal and hit analyze flow. So as you can see here, I have this connector where I'm initiating the traffic from, which is the shared services VPC. I have traffic going into the partner segment. I can see information into the IP, the ports, what the protocol is. And here in this column, it also kind of shows me the service or the firewall service where this traffic is being initiated to. And I am also able to see there are forward and reverse packets, which means there is bidirectional traffic. I'll initiate another flow for a different segment. So let me initiate that and hit analyze flow. So now if I look at it, there are two flows which are being shown here. One is towards the partner segment and one is towards the MA segment. And I can see the full flow information along with the fact that the traffic is hitting the specific firewall as well. So in terms of, end-to-end visibility is there into all traffic, even between route domains. Kind of in that way, you have full visualization into all traffic that is hitting multiple segments.
So you initiated traffic from the cloud to partners, but it's bidirectional traffic is permitted and allowed. So we can easily show from partner side connection initiating and accessing the resources. And then these monitoring tools, they are on the CXP from the data portal, and then we capture the traffic behavior end to end, how traffic is coming in from what connector, where it's destined to, and if there's any firewall that is traffic redirecting to. So we get complete path of the traffic, right? Which is great. It's easier to analyze and then keep an audit of the behavior of the traffic from different partners.
Yes, that's correct, Hisham. Yeah.
That is great, Dipesh. So Alkira's extranet service simplifies for the customers to connect their partners to their enterprise network through Alkira's POPs, which are Alkira CXPs. Customers can control their traffic behavior with Alkira policies. The next level of the security, they can integrate third-party firewalls for traffic inspections, for permitting or not allowing. Also, using the Alkira policies, customers can take care of the NAT, the overlapping IP addresses using the Alkira NAT policies, right? And then if partners, which typically would be in different segments, they need to access some common enterprise resources, then customers can easily from the UI use the resource share feature to share those same common resources with multiple partners in a secured manner, right? This definitely sounds a simpler way than what you explained initially, how things have been done typically in traditional way, right? This has been a great video. Thank you for joining me, Dipesh.
Thanks for having me, Sham. It was a great conversation.
If you would like to know how Alkira can help you resolve your business use cases, then please reach out to us at sales@alkira.net.